Today is September 2nd, 2025. Mahoning County Board of Elections will hold a regular board meeting of the members of the board on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025 at 4 p.m. in the boardroom of the Mahoning County Board of Election Office, 345 Oak Hill Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio, 44502. Would the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Barger?
Here.
Attorney Beatrice?
Here.
Attorney Robinson?
Here.
Attorney Baird?
Here.
Would the vice chairwoman of the Mahoning County Board of Elections lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a moment of silence for our country and all those serving, please. Thank you. The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the July 14th, 2025 special board meeting and August 5th, 2025 regular board meeting and the August 18th, 2025 special board meeting. Take that all as one motion.
So moved.
There's a motion made by Vice Chairperson Sandra Barger. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Attorney Denise Bayer. Are there any comments, questions, concerns, or anything else? Hearing none, would the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Attorney Robinson?
Yes.
Attorney Baird?
Yes.
The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the bills and accounts and payments for the July and August 2025.
So moved.
There's a motion made by Vice Chairwoman Sandra Barger. Is there a second? I will second that motion. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, would the director call the roll,
Ms.
please?
Barger?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Attorney Robinson?
Yes.
Attorney Baird?
Yes.
Okay, we have a number of reconsiderations under the chairman's report for various petitions that we did not approve. And so there was a directive, just so everyone knows why this is happening. We used to be allowed to help people actually fill out the petitions. A new directive came out and said we can no longer do that. But they weren't that hard to fill out to begin with. So the first one is for, are these in order, Tom?
Yeah,
These emails?
Did you get one from Victoria?
do that.
We don't have an email from her? You just didn't copy it for us.
You should be a package in front of you.
Well, are they in order?
No, in order is a list on the agenda, and there should be a package in front of you that's already made.
Danny, are you here?
I am.
Would you come up here and help the board figure out where this first email, or
Towards the end.
Yes, towards the end.
are these all in order of how they're listed on the,
Well, I didn't send those to you. I put the petitions all in order according to the agenda.
So this is in order to the agenda?
This is in order.
Okay, well then we'll go by what Tom has, I think.
Yeah.
We're a little out of order here,
so where is this one at?
so. Second to the last on the back page.
This one?
Yeah. No,
All right, we have a correspond,
all right.
this one here,
Yes.
we had to put them on 2 pages, to confuse me. All right, we have an email from a Victoria DeJesus dated Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. It's to Daniel O'Neill, external, Campbell Schools. Hello. I would like the board to revisit the ruling on my petition for Campbell City School District Board of Education. Please contact me at 330-651-0941 for any other information. Thank you, Victoria DeJesus. Are you here, Victoria DeJesus? She is not. Can you tell us again?
Sure, the petition's done right. She needed 25 signatures, we ended up on the third check with 24 signatures. We have 2 not registered at the address, 2 not registered, 1 duplicate, and 6 non-genuine, which means most likely they were printed. We have a package here. We've always allowed candidates over the past few years to provide affidavits. If there's short signatures, she provided no affidavits.
Well, plus she's short.
She's short.
The chair will now entertain a motion to keep our prior decision and to prohibit Victoria DeJesus from appearing on the board. Is there such a motion?
I move.
Attorney Robinson has moved to disavow Victoria DeJesus's petitions to
I'll
run.
second.
And I have a second from Vice Chairwoman Sandra Barger. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, would the director call the roll,
Ms.
please?
Barger,
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice,
Yes.
Attorney Robinson,
Yes.
Attorney Barrett.
Yes.
So we have looked at it once and looked at it twice. Victoria DeJesus will not be appearing on the ballot in November. The next one is Tanya Dean. And we have an email from Richard Dean. It's dated Tuesday, August 19th at 4:03 p.m. Attached are the affidavit statements to appeal my application for WB School Board. Thank you. Tanya Dean, Harvesting Hope in the Community, Dean's Funeral Home. It says here on the back,
Say it again.
No, it's Tanya Day.
what did I do wrong?
Nothing
Are you sure?
positive.
Okay. Because I know everyone likes to correct me when I'm wrong. Which very rarely happens to a lot of people. But they still like to do it to me. Okay, there's an affidavit attached, so please tell me what went on with this petition and why we should reconsider it.
Sure, we checked it 3 times, we came up with 24 valid signatures, she needed 25. We had 2 not genuine, we didn't match our records and they were printed, and 1 that was illegible that we couldn't make out. Tanya provided 3 different affidavits for from 3 voters. 3, 7, and 15. And the affidavits attached.
And that would then, according to my understanding of the law, would make her eligible to be on the ballot, is that correct?
That is correct.
Notary, so.
I'm assuming, Danny, when they turn these in, you have the original, is that a correct assumption on my part?
Yes, yes.
Is Tanya Dean here? What would be your
Yeah.
question?
Is that what he meant?
It's just such a different signature from here. I mean, some of these I can see, like.
How many
John-
did she need? One?
She needs one.
This one- Okay, I have an issue with this affidavit, but Candy Jones, it looks like, I mean, I can tell the signature here and also the one that, John Candy.
Okay, do you have any other questions?
Yeah.
All right, the chair will make a motion to place onto the ballot Tanya Dean onto the, is it the West Branch School Board? Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Lisa Ro, they always put me in suspense when I make a motion. I go, is there a second? And they let 3 minutes pass. Seconded by Lisa Robinson.
At least it's not 70.
Is there any comments, questions, or concerns besides the ones Attorney Denise Bay, or Member Denise Bayer raised? A yes vote would place Tanya Dean back on to the ballot. So would the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Attorney Dietrich?
Yes.
Attorney Robinson?
Yes.
Attorney Baird?
Yes.
All right. The next one is Million Perry Pfeiffer. Am I saying that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, let me find where your things are, because they're not. This right here. All right, we received a letter on 8/26 at 1:35. Danny, from now on, do we have a stamp that we can stamp these that they're coming in on that date?
Yeah.
Because someone could write 8/20, 8/19 and not turn it into 8/23. And then we're adopting it as 8/19. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but would the date on the email work?
Well, date on an email will work, but this is a handwritten note.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
I
right.
wish for the board to reconsider my petitions. Millen Reese, how do you say your last name?
It's Perry Pfeiffer.
Harry.
Oh, Perry Pfeiffer. You write like I do, Million.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Mr. Director, could you tell us what the kerfluffle was with Million Perry Pfeiffer's petition?
Sure, running for Youngstown City School Board needs 150 signatures. First check, we had 134. Second check, we had 141, which leaves them 9 short. And I don't believe we're in possession of any affidavits at this point. So we're 9 signatures short.
Well, the chair will recognize to keep Million Perry Pfeiffer off of the ballot for lack of an adequate number of signatures. Is there such a motion?
Dave, since he's here, I believe he'd like to.
Okay, Million, come on up. You'd like to say something?
Yes,
Absolutely.
I have all my affidavits here. I have 11, and then I have
One
one.
received was what I said. Right. Okay, go ahead.
So I'll tell you what we'd like to do. Danny, if you could take his affidavits, it's not too much work, and go check them out for us, and maybe before we end this meeting, we can, we'll table, let's table this motion. We'll table it?
There's no time for that, they have to do this for reconsideration.
Well, I asked her already. I was gonna bring them this morning. She told me not to come till 4 o'clock today. Here you are.
Okay, we have a board meeting next week, it's going to for ballots.
I mean, if we can get it done now.
Do it that right.
I would have had them here already.
Thanks,
I
Dan.
understand that,
Well,
Million. I like that name. Million. All right, she's gonna check that out. Can I have a motion to table Million Perry Pfeiffer's petitions at this current moment?
So moved.
There's a motion to table the reconsideration of Million Pfeiffer, Perry Pfeiffer. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by member Denise Bayer. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, would the director call the roll?
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Attorney Robinson?
Yes.
Attorney Barrett?
Yes.
All right, so that one's on hold. Now let's go digging for Mr. Carrollson. Donaldson. All right, here's one. Once again, it's not an email, and that's why I think, Mr. Director and Ms. Assistant Director, if things don't come in by email, that we have our office date stamp it, okay? All right, it says, is Kenneth M. Donaldson here?
Yes,
Okay, I'm gonna read this. If you'd like to address the board, you can, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I did send an email. I don't know why it's not in the information, but an email was sent.
Well, this is probably the attachment.
They just provided the attachment.
I don't have an email, Annie, do you? Or have an email?
It's all I did.
Okay, well, then-
It's too thick and handwriting, I could do that.
I understand, but if this gentleman says he emailed it, then we should have his email. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, you previously. And date stamp.
And date stamp.
I wrote it
To whom it may concern, this letter is to address the board for reconsideration of my petitions. The term on the petition example was highlighted, and it said that all highlighted areas needed to be marked. There are no unexpired terms under this petition. To make sure I was compliant with the request, I checked that box also. I assumed because there were no unexpired terms available, the board would assume that the term was full. I checked the full box also. I asked for clarity, but my request was denied. Again, I was attempting to cover my bases because the example petition had both boxes checked. To throw out almost 300 petitions because of an unclear request or misunderstanding does not seem to serve our community, who overwhelmingly supported me last term and this term as well. Please reconsider your decision. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at his contact locations. Mr. Director, would you please tell us what's going on here?
All party petitions, term of the office, there's two boxes, one's for full term, and this is a full term race, and there's a box also for unexpired term. And those, for those races where it's, they were appointed, there's a resignation, there's an unexpired term.
I appreciate that, but what he says is,
They were both
the
filled in.
well, I appreciate that also. The directions he was given say, fill in all the places marked yellow. Is that the direction that is given by our board?
Yeah, all the highlighted areas have to be filled in.
Okay, so is that what this board tells a candidate? All the yellow highlighted areas must be filled in.
That pertains to that office, yes.
So we are punishing someone by following our directions, is how I look at it, unless I'm wrong.
Correct. But since this board adopted a policy 2-3 years ago, refusing to pre-check any petitions, our hands are tied at that counter.
And even that's why it's a little dicey to give that guidance, because actually when you highlight both, it's the choice. It would be like this date or that date.
Let me see what
We should get the example before we discuss.
yeah, let me see the example of the petition. Annie, would you get that for us, please?
This is why we were hesitant to even get any guidance.
I appreciate that, but if we are telling the general public, please fill out all the items in yellow, and they fill out all the items in yellow, and then we say, well, you messed up because you filled out all the items in yellow, seems to me that doesn't seem to be fair.
Can you argue that? gave you.
That just doesn't seem to be fair to me.
So if it was something more straightforward, like male, female, and we said check which one, maybe it should say highlight, check which one, so let's look at.
You could say highlight which are appropriate, but to say you must fill in all the yellow,
Yep, yep, we've never had this issue before.
Because I wonder, trying to be helpful and highlighting added to the,
well,
Which is why we were hesitant to do so. Which is why.
Denise, we could say highlight the items in yellow that are that apply. I don't see where it says to highlight all the,
No, because it says check one, and there's a check there and a check there, so it
yeah,
doesn't.
but this gentleman said that he was told to fill out all the items in yellow. I don't see where that is in our instructions.
Well, I think that's what we instruct them as they pick up the petition, check it, fill in everything in yellow. But then there is a check one on the box, either check one full term or an expired term. I think the or is self-explanatory. I still go back to you, I thought it was a technicality last meeting, and I still think it's a technicality this meeting.
Would it be a fatal flaw if he checked an expired term but didn't designate when the term ended?
That's correct.
It is a fatal flaw, he didn't,
Fill it in.
Fill it in, we needed, but see, there's no expired term this time.
yeah.
There's only a full term, and it goes back to the standard where any signers without petition misled into signing something in what they're signing.
Here's my rub with it. We hand this guy or a candidate a petition and we say, fill in all the yellow. Now, they're not, I understand the bar's low, I get it. But when you say fill in all the yellow, and then we wanna go, well, it says check one there. So,
He was trying to get it right.
what?
He was trying to get it right because of all the issues we've had over the last few years.
Right.
What have we done in the past with the same issue?
I can't recall this issue before.
This is a fairly new, this is only a couple election process, and we have not had this circumstance.
No, I don't think we've had this.
In particular, the exact document that David was handing out, because that was a big conversation whether to give guidance or not, or just exactly.
I don't have a problem with highlighting it. What I have a problem with is if we say to a person, fill in all the things in yellow. If it simply said, fill in all the items in yellow that are applicable, that would be different.
I don't know that that's not what we're saying, because I'm not there to see what verbal statement is said, because there's nothing written on there, right? We hand it to them, and we say, look at it and make sure that your petition is correct.
No, but Tom said, he just said that we tell people fill out everything in yellow.
Fill everything that's in yellow, you give them that form, that's an example.
But he did fill in an unexpected end date though, 11/4/29, and there is no
That's correct.
end date, so that's incorrect as well.
That is correct.
So the only thing he did wrong was mark in unexpired and full term, but he had the date right for the full term.
No,
No.
To
that's,
me, it should be, to me, it's check one, because that's how we can,
When would his full term end?
you know,
I see the petition date on.
See what I'm saying?
Yes, I see what you're saying.
parsing words to say what was said at the counter. We actually leave it out on the desk too, out in front of the board. So even before they come in. we're gonna look at it.
Is the issue whether or not anyone signing the petition was misled when he checked?
It's been my understanding over the years, giving benefits to the candidates and voters, signing the petition, they misled and think they were signing something other than what that candidate was running for.
The intention.
Yeah.
Well, these are all resources candidates can use. That's not my problem. My problem is that we told the candidate to fill in all the places in yellow. Why are you looking at me like that? Was that not told to him?
Well, I couldn't say because I wasn't standing there.
Danny?
Tell them to look at what's happening.
That's what Tom said they said.
Okay.
When they pick this up, do you tell them to fill out all the things in yellow?
We can ask.
No, I mean, we tell them all of that information must be filled out.
In yellow.
Yes,
But how would you, I guess, how would you fill it out if you're not gonna highlight both so they know check one? So are you just gonna highlight check one?
All I'm saying is, it might be confusing for a candidate to be given a form and say, you must fill in all the places in yellow, but in the one yellow spot, you shouldn't fill it in.
Can I see the original petition?
But he also put the wrong date.
How long are these terms?
4 years.
Well, no, he wasn't right. Oh, the unexpired term pending, no. I'm 11/4 of,
29, you put, right? Isn't that what it said?
yeah, but that's when the next election for the school board.
Right. That's the full term date.
The full term is December, right? December 31st.
That I have more of a problem with. He messed up the date. Not that he filled both things in, but if he'd have put 1/1/31 or 30, I'd have less of a concern. But he actually put in the wrong date that it ends. Yes. The office doesn't begin on election day. The election day is when we have elections, and then when they win, their term starts usually a couple months afterwards. That's at least how I know it to work in America. Maybe someone can tell me if it's changed recently. A lot of things have changed recently. I'm just wondering if that's one of those. Mr. Donaldson, Pastor Donaldson,
Yes, sir.
do you understand what we're saying now? It's
I,
not that you filled in all the yellow areas,
yeah,
but you put the wrong date in.
right. So that was filled in on the day that I turned the petitions in upon looking at the template that said you need to fill out all the yellow spots, so.
I appreciate everything you're saying. The problem is you did exactly what we said, but the date you put in, that is inaccurate. That's not a date that the office begins or ends. It's just an election day.
Right, so,
And that would that would make it, in my opinion, so flawed as to render your petitions not valid.
yeah, I would acknowledge that the dates are incorrect. I don't know what the dates are, to be honest.
And so,
But the
so if
intent,
you're running for school board and they have a lot of resources, that's something that I think the General Assembly, this board, and the Secretary of State you would at least try to find out what date the term ends. Okay, because when you're running for a full term, you don't have to put in when your term ends. It ends by an operation of law. But when you put unexpired term ending on an election day, that's what makes it, in my opinion, more flawed.
yeah, so again, you can clearly see the intent was to cover my bases. I was really trying to convey that.
But 11, what did he put down?
11/4/29.
Is not any date. That's not covering your bases, that's just making up a date.
That's the election day.
I appreciate that, but
Right.
nothing
I-
other than an election happens on election day.
Right,
A term doesn't end and a term doesn't begin on an election day.
right. Yeah,
And I appreciate you were trying to be fastidious, and I appreciate that you were trying to comply with this, but you just picked the day out of, you just picked a random election day. Election day has nothing to do with when a term begins or ends. All right, could someone, the chair will entertain a motion to keep Kenneth Donaldson off the ballot. Not so much for the yellow, but more importantly for the wrong dates put down there.
So moved.
There's a motion made by Sandra Barger. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Sandy, I don't think they like this.
I don't know. Don't that
Yeah, when you make the motion,
Yeah, you do.
There's a motion made by Vice Chairwoman Sandra Barger and a second made by member Attorney Denise Bayer. Are there comments, questions, or concerns? Here's my comment. I don't have a problem. You know, we're not allowed to help them with petitions, right? But there's nothing wrong with saying, here are resources for a petition, here are the yellow parts, fill out what's appropriate. I think it's a better piece of advice than to say, you must fill out everything in yellow. Does anyone have a problem with
Don't
that?
have any highlighted parts on the petition?
What?
You mean have a laminated sample petition, but no,
No, you can laminate it, but just say,
but not have it highlighted?
I don't have even a problem being highlighted. What I have a problem with saying is, you must fill out everything in yellow. Just fill out in yellow what is appropriate to be filled out. You're not telling them what must or must not be filled out. And I don't see any problem in telling them or giving them a sheet with all the resources that can help. We can't help them, but we can give them resources where they can go to get help.
They do get that when they get their thing packet.
Okay.
They do get
But this gentleman was told by two of our employees that everything in yellow must be filled out. Tom said it was said, and Danny said it was said.
What you're saying, 2 employees said that.
And all I'm saying is, that's inaccurate. Because, but for him putting in the wrong date, I would have voted to keep his petitions on. Because he was doing what he was told to do, which is, you must fill out everything in yellow. Do you have any perspective on what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. If I can look at that real quick. So since, okay, this is just when I see where it says or, maybe highlight the or color, so that pops a little bit more, because it's really easy to miss.
Yeah, I would say, just say, fill out what is appropriate. We're not telling them what is or what isn't, they gotta figure that out.
So fill it out without highlighting area.
No. Am I saying something that's not making sense?
That's the only part that would be, that wouldn't have to be filled out in yellow. If it was an unexpired term or a full term.
That's the only or on the sheet.
That's the only or on the sheet that has a problem. So if you do those in a different color and say whatever's appropriate.
Is
Or,
this our form, or is this form from the Secretary of State?
this is ours.
That's the secretary.
That's a Secretary of State form that we highlighted.
Okay.
And laminated to try to alleviate confusion in today's climate.
The one thing the pastor said that date was put on after the fact, after everyone signed that
Over the
petition.
counter.
Over the counter,
Which is
to make sure
understandable.
he's trying to get it right. So no voter ever saw that wrong date. No signer ever saw that wrong date. I think that was the point you're trying to make.
Yeah, so again, the intent was to cover my bases. Even if the date, I get the fact that the dates are wrong, but it wasn't arbitrary, I'm not a politician. And then secondly, the dates are reflecting a 4-year term, so really I was trying to cover my bases.
I don't think we.
And there are no unexpired terms.
You still can't fill it.
But if you knew that, why did you check the box and fill it in?
Because
Because it
it
was
said,
Well,
it said, fill out all the highlighted areas, that's why.
we were never allowed that.
All I'm saying is, from this point forward, what do we want to do?
Well, I like Fiona's suggestion, to
I
make a
do too.
differentiation in it so that it would be less confusing, and we appreciate you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, please fill out which is appropriate.
And highlight in a different color to show there's a differentiation, if it's one or the other.
Yeah. All right, let's, direct call the roll, please.
Ms. Berger,
Yes.
Chairman Beatrice,
Yes.
Attorney Robinson,
Yes.
Attorney Bear.
Yes.
All right, now let's go on a fishing expedition for Tina Svedkovich. You would think, right? There's more than one handwritten note.
And she is here.
I appreciate she's here. All right, Tina Svetkovich.
There you go.
I'm a potential candidate for Youngstown School Board District member and would like to request a reconsideration. Tina Svetkovich. Now, before you start, I want to know what's wrong, and then we'll let you respond.
Sure, she turned in 192 signatures. Second check, we had 155 valid. But there's two-part petitions that are missing the date of election for this year.
One was accepted, one was thrown out. That let me three votes short.
One was marked 2025, we accepted that one,
Yes.
and one wasn't marked the date or the year. So we accepted the one that was marked 2025, we rejected the one that did not have 2025.
Yep, and left me three short.
But you did fill out the form correctly. So it really doesn't have to do with signatures, it has to do with.
No, it does have to do with
Statement of
signatures.
candidacy.
No, she lost signatures because one petition was thrown out. So
See,
she would
this
need
whole
to
petition
agree
was
on that
thrown
one.
out because she didn't put at the general election to be held on the blank day of November, blank year.
This one was, the other one was accepted.
So we would need 3 signatures valid on it.
Well, she has enough signatures, that's not the issue. The issue said she didn't put the day nor the year. Okay, and what does the Secretary of State say we do in that position?
Then it's a must, that is one of the ones that must be filled out. We had past practice, and when they put the year, it goes back 2 years, that this board rule that voters were not confused of what they're signing because it's 2025. The board rejected that one last meeting because they didn't have 2025.
And then that caused me to be short votes, my signatures though.
No, I understand that.
So that's my issue, and that's what the reconsideration was for, was to potentially relook at the non-genuine signatures in hopes of getting 3 signatures to be approved.
Well, so usually when that happens, people will bring in affidavits. Do you have affidavits?
Unfortunately, I was not able to secure a notary to travel with me because of the cost. I was able to get 5 people willing to do a video call and to testify before you guys, but unfortunately, there's no cell signal back here, so we are unable to contact them. But my statement to the board is here, and I would like to read that to you.
No, wait a minute, I wanna understand something here. You have 3 people that said that they would testify by FaceTime to say that's their, and
Yes.
why can't we do that?
There's no cell signal back here.
I have a hotspot.
It's
Ours-
fine, but let's try, who has a hotspot?
Our cell phones are not working back here in order to contact these people.
I have one bar, I don't know.
Yeah, mine's not even working. I've got one bar and I can't do nothing. I can't even send a message to anyone.
You wanted a FaceTime? Let's see mine.
But even if the signatures, we validate signatures, this petition is
No,
not.
she's saying without this,
I'm 3 short.
she's pretty
the other
short.
So wouldn't the 3 short have to be on the cart petition that's
We
correct?
accept it.
So we need to know what names they are before we even call people, make sure they're on the correct petition.
Yes, they are not on that petition that was
Yeah,
thrown out.
she would have
Because
enough,
she did her due diligence, so she, you know what I'm saying, it has to be on that other petition.
and she's done that. She's just saying she didn't have the ability to hire someone to go and notarize them, but
And you would be willing to hear a FaceTime if we can get it up? Is
we
what
could
we're-
swear them in
Okay.
and see what they have to
Can
say.
I also present this to you guys? This is my other evidence. It is regarding
Ohio Revised Code guidance from the Secretary of State that recognizes a voter's signature can be written in cursive, printed, or even a mark, as long as it represents the voter's own act and intent to reject these signatures because they are printed would disenfranchise the voters who signed in good faith. The purpose of this process is to reflect the will of the electors, and these voters clearly intended to sign.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree with you more, but the law is that we have to check signatures. And none of us are handwriting experts. But they make us, and even now when they present driver's license, we still have to check their signatures. Tell me the normalcy in that. There isn't any.
Because it is Ohio Revised Code, section 3501.38, that states the signatures can be affixed in ink. Each signer may also print the signer's name so as to clearly identify the person's signature. And it also has section 3501.011 for persons who do not use cursive style. They can mark the cursive of their regular business and legal affairs sign or signature means that the person's other legal mark that the person uses during the course of that person's regular business and legal affairs is written in that person's own hand.
An X is acceptable if that's how they,
Yeah.
or if someone had a
Right.
stroke and they can't sign their name. The problem is that we need, the reverse of that can also be equally true. If we don't vet those, then you can have fraud on the other side. You understand what we're trying to do? Trying to walk a fine line here, not make the hurdle so high, but then again, not just let someone come in with a bunch of bogus signatures. So can we try
Do you
to,
wanna try to call?
All right, two of my circulators are here and they have, people that they wish to reach out to. Who? Michael,
And do yours.
do you have, are you able to reach one of your petitioners?
Can we go first?
Yes, please.
All right, here we go.
And could you
well,
say
Michael,
the name so we can
Michael,
look up
before
that
you
name?
go,
Yes, sir.
you would only give us one signature because 1, 2, 3,
He
4
has-
of them are not registered.
He has two that are non-genuine on Michael Kirkchak's.
Is NG non-genuine,
Yes,
and what's OA?
out of area.
So he has 2.
Yes, and he has those two people that he can reach out
And
to.
then I also have one from D'Onofrio's petition.
And Dr. D'Onofrio is in the audience as well, because she also can contact another person on her paper. And I also have, Joe
Well-
Moranto's wife is
All
willing
right, well,
to speak.
hold on a second, Can Maureen D'Onofrio and Michael Kirkchak come up here, please? Could you both raise your right hands? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth this you do as you answer under the pangs of perjury? Or you swear to God?
I do.
All right, Michael Kirkchak, there are 2 on your petition. One is for a Donna Holland, and one is for a Deborah Walker.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask you, did you reach out to these people?
Yes, I did, sir.
Did they say they were their signatures?
Yes, sir.
And you're doing this knowing that if you're lying, we can prosecute you for perjury.
Yes, sir.
And a Deborah Walker, did you reach out to her?
Yes, sir.
And is that her signature?
Oh, she signed it with me in person.
And
I
you-
don't know if that's considered her signature or not, but yes.
So you saw both of these people sign it
Yes, sir.
in your
100%.
presence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Maureen D'Onofrio,
The one she's testifying before is the very last one.
Karen Timlin,
My sister-in-law, yes.
that's your sister-in-law?
Yes.
And you saw her time? And you understand that if we were to investigate this, and you were lying, because this is a government agency, you could be prosecuted for perjury.
No, I understand.
And you're telling this board that Karen Timlin did in fact sign that? Does any of the board have any other questions?
Why was it rejected to begin with?
didn't match, not genuine.
Can I ask a question?
I don't see why not.
Dr. D'Onofrio, can you please explain why your sister-in-law printed?
She had a stroke and she prints, the side that she writes with was affected and she uses her other hand.
Anyone else? I hate that they make us check signatures. I think it's most ridiculous in the world. None of us are handwriting experts. Denise, how many documents you sign a day? I sign, you catch me in the morning, my signature looks nothing like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It just doesn't. Sandy, you have any questions?
But does that give those 3 signatures?
Those 3 signatures would give her enough, yeah. Tom?
Tom ran out.
We have, she had 100.
But remember, by signing a stipulated statement, that is them attesting that they saw it. Right. She still FaceTime.
She knows it's her,
Well, I know, I don't know if you still want.
oh, I put her under oath and it says he's a sister-in-law. I put Mr. Kripcheck under oath. Do you know Donna Holland?
I don't know them personally, but I actually ran by their house just yesterday, actually, and spoke with them directly.
Okay, and you introduced yourself?
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah.
you
I
said,
explained
do you
the
remember when I
situation.
shared signing a petition?
Yep.
And under voter rolls, do these 2 people actually live at this address?
Correct.
Any problem?
That qualified? That gives us enough valid
Yeah,
signatures?
I make a motion that we accept Tina.
Savetkovich, please, David.
Savekovich's petitions to be a candidate for the Youngstown City School Board. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by member Denise Bayer. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns besides the?
Is the public allowed to ask questions now?
No. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, would the director call the roll,
Ms.
please?
Barber,
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice,
Yes.
Attorney Robinson, Attorney Bayer.
Yes.
All right. Now we're going for Laura Consiglio. Let's see where it's at in our packet of shuffled. That's Tina's.
Yep.
This one's down. This is Eingold.
It's on the other side of Victoria. Back side of Victoria.
This is Mahoney. Did this come in by email or by letter?
Email.
I can't even tell.
Email.
Well, why is it like this then if it's email? Why don't we have the email attached to it?
I can go,
No, I mean, I'll take your word for it.
yeah,
Can we attach the email with it? So
all
we-
right. We will do that.
Mahoney County Board of Elections, 345 Oak Hill Avenue. To whom it concern, this letter is to ask the Board of Elections to reconsider the ruling on by petitions for councilperson for the Village of New Middletown, Ohio, for the upcoming November 4th, 2025 election. My petition was not certified. Respectfully submitted, Laura Consiglio. Do I say that right? Laura, are you here?
Yes.
Could you stand up, please? All right, no problem here.
She had enough signatures, but the date of the election will be held on the 4th day of November 2025, she filled in at the calendar. It was circulated, was out, and filled out at the calendar. Is that correct, Danny? Yeah, that was correct.
Okay, Laura, this is the reason why this rule exists.
Yes.
You have to have that filled in prior to them signing, not after, because you can have them sign this and then just hold it and run it the next time,
Right, I understand.
okay?
And I understand that based on everything that I've heard here today, that the petition won't be honored. But I just wanted to also say that I wanted to
let you know that that was in no way to mislead anyone. Those are my friends, my neighbors, people that I know, people who know that I'm on the Village of New Middletown Council, and who knows that my term is expiring and that I'm running again. So it was never meant to mislead. It was just me, not fully understanding what I was doing, being that it was my first time.
First
in
of all,
hurrying.
I appreciate you wanting to run and be part of the electoral process. I think everyone should be more involved. But sometimes our hands are tied.
I understand.
And I believe, Tom, this is one of the ones where this is a,
Correct, and we move already tonight on the same issue.
Yeah.
Both dates are missing.
okay. Does anyone have any questions for?
No, that's Laura's email.
Yeah, see, when this comes in, then I know when we got it. But otherwise, it just looks like someone dropped a letter off at the counter. All right. I will make a motion to uphold our prior decision for Laura Consiglio due to the date being filled in at the counter. And even though these people might know it, that's what the law is, and we don't have a choice. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion made and a second granted. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns other than what we've already spoke of? Hearing none, would the director call the roll?
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Attorney Robinson?
Yes.
Attorney Baird?
Yes.
All right, Stephen Ingold. Let me see where his is. I would like to ask the Board of Elections to reconsider my petition for new Middletown Village Councilman. I understand mistake. This is my first time, and I have run, this is the first time I have run for office before, so I do apologize. Thank you for reconsidering. All right, what was the problem here?
The number of signatures in a certified statement is blank.
That's deadly. I hate this. But the idea of these petitions, just so everyone knows, is so when someone's signing your petition, they can look at the petition and know what you're running for. You did that well. But to witness the number of signatures, this tells us that you witnessed these signatures. We can't assume you witnessed those signatures. Go ahead, you can stand up and make a point.
I did witness them all. When I went to go over everything, I did try and check, and when they called me and stated that like that was the one thing that I missed, I recognize that. The only thing I'll say is like I only have 17 signatures. I actually thought I needed all 18 until I did research and I saw that I only needed the 10. So yeah, and
Well, now I'm
that's all I got to
confused.
say.
Slow second, Tom. Is this the only petition he turned in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So you've thrown out three different numbers here. How many signatures did he need?
10 for
10.
village.
Okay. And something else you said is exactly what this rule is. You said, I didn't witness all these signatures.
No, I did.
I thought you said you didn't witness.
No,
them.
I did.
Yeah, but you still gotta put in a number there. You didn't. And so this official government document, says you didn't witness any of them. And now you wanna come in and say, well, I did witness them, but once you file it, sort of like a steel door goes down. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's a fatal flaw under the law. I wished it wasn't, but it is. And so I wished we could help people with their petitions, but we're not allowed to do that anymore. But there's books out there that you can get that could show you how to do it. But unfortunately, I think our hands are tied on this one, so, Chair will entertain a motion from member Denise Bayer to disqualify or to uphold our prior decision.
still need.
Oh, she made a motion today. I remember Denise Bayer made a motion to uphold our prior decision. Is there a second?
Second.
You know what, we've done the Owens Park Board. It's time for the, the special
Move
teams.
this along.
All right, and Sandra Barter made a second. Is there any comments or discussions beyond which we already have? Hearing none, would the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Barger,
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice,
Yes.
Attorney Robinson,
Yes.
Attorney Barrett.
Yes.
All right, now reconsideration hearing for Joe Cartwright.
Yes.
Courtwright. All right, here it is here. It says, "To the Board of Elections, my name is Joseph Courtwright. I'm the Vice President of the West Branch Board of Education. This is my first term. I understand there was an oversight on my part regarding the circulator section of the petition I submitted. I sincerely apologize and will do whatever necessary to rectify this. I'm asking and would greatly appreciate reconsideration to allow me to be on the ballot in November, as I would continue with the progress we have made during my term. Thank you." All right, so what was the problem here?
The circular statements on both part petitions were left blank.
Can't fix that.
Okay, Joe,
Yes, sir.
are you there?
Yes, sir.
This is one of the ones, see? There's no signature of a circulator. So we don't know who circulated these petitions.
Right, I understand.
And that's a
I did
fatal-
them all just like the last gentleman. I witnessed all of them. I
I
understand.
appreciate that,
I understand.
but once you file it and there's no signature of a circulator, anyone could, turn in unsigned circulations and then go, well, I circulated them.
Right.
And so there's a part where we have finality to the process, and the finality is when you turn them in. So these are fatal flaws. I make a motion that we uphold our prior decision on Joe Cartwright. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by member Denise Bayer. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, would the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Barger,
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice,
Yes.
Attorney Robinson,
Yes.
Attorney Barrett.
Yes.
All right, so the last one we have is a Karen Sue Harris. Let's see if I can find that one.
The one with the resume.
One.
The one with the resume.
Oh, there it is. It says, "I would like the Mahoney County Board of Education, Board of Elections, to reconsider my petition to be a contender for the West Branch Board of Education. The issue is the date recorded on the declaration that I am an elector to vote, qualified elector to vote. As I was not sure what date to write on that section, I called Lisbon Board and was told the day I returned the petitions." Well, Tom, would you like to weigh in here?
Sure. As you know, the petition pays itself, statement of candidacy needs signed and dated prior to circulation. We think they were signed, but they were dated after circulation.
Yeah.
We're not sending those down.
So, for anyone here that wants to run again, when we have a petition, your declaration as a circulator must predate the people signing the petitions.
I understand that now, but it was very confusing, and I also had a member of the Stark County School Board of Education, and we went over everything. And she also told me to put the day I returned, so that's when I called
And
Lisbon.
is this person on a Board of Elections?
Board of Education
Board of Education.
in Stark County.
So the duties and obligations of a Board of Education are quite different than the duties and obligations of a Board of Elections.
I know, but I also called the Board of Election in Lisbon.
Okay, well,
And they
you're
confirmed.
filing in Mahoney.
It's a
Yes,
split
but
district.
West Branch has Columbiana County, Mahoning, and Portage County. So you have to go to the most populous county to get your petition.
I know this sounds crazy, because I've litigated this issue. If a government official gives you wrong information and you rely on it, you're out of luck. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the way the current law from the Ohio Supreme Court is. And so you have to follow what's written in the law, not what someone tells you.
Well, I was unsure, so I reached out for help, so obviously I was misled. And
I
there-
appreciate that, but that misleading is leading to you or not being on the ballot,
I understand.
because that is a fatal flaw. It is not something where we have discretion, or where we can go check affidavits, or I can have someone testify about a signature. That's just a fatal flaw. Okay?
Okay.
So I would make a motion to disqualify Karen Harris's petitions for the fatal flaw of having the wrong date, a date after she witnessed all the signatures. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns beyond what we've already had? Hearing none, would the director call the roll?
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Attorney Robinson?
Yes.
Attorney Baird?
Yes.
All right, now, we had one that was tabled.
There's another one that came in from Columbiana, David Yagi, running for West Branch School, same situation, same problem. He dated after circulation. And that's a Columbiana sent that to us. But we're the county of record, so we have to roll it for the first time.
Oh. There's nothing, I mean, this is consistent with
What was this day?
what we just did.
Yagi.
Now, didn't we, table Million Perry Pfeiffer's, have we completed that process yet?
Yeah.
We have. Danny?
Yeah.
You want to walk me
There-
through this?
Yeah, they're in order. And I highlighted next to their names.
And in order, so James
Yeah.
Weiser would be James Weiser.
Yes.
Okay, so Danny did put them in order,
Yep.
the affidavits, the petitions, and they do go in order. And he needs, how many signatures, Danny?
He needs, 9.
9 more.
And how many does he have?
I didn't,
For 1 second, man. I'm gonna let everyone talk, whoever wants to talk, except for Gelada. Other than that.
You left up today.
She's waiting to talk.
No, you left up today, I have to go.
I have that one, the one who just passed down.
11,
David that came from Columbia.
8,
Which one just came from Columbia County?
9,
West Branch, David Yagi.
11 sounds right?
All right,
12, okay.
I got
I
11
make a motion
affidavits and one
to
testifying.
disqualify
Okay.
David Yagi due to a date flaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none. Director, call the roll.
you okay now?
Yes, I am, thank you. Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Attorney Robinson?
Yes.
Attorney Baird?
Yes.
Now we're gonna go back to Million Perry Piper. I make a motion that we now qualify him for the ballot. Is there a second?
Okay, you see the affidavit?
Well, if the board wants to see the affidavits or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, okay, well, I'll let them see it. I trust Karen. Gelada, I'll take you out of order if there's something you wanna say.
No.
No, I will.
I had a question on the other situation when you were doing the executive, I just wanted to know, is it going to be customary, people don't need affidavits and they can just, bring somebody up who circulated the petition and say, yeah, I witnessed that, and so then the signature is then valid when it was invalidated? Or are you
Well, one
just,
was-
are you setting precedent?
I don't think so. One was a sister-in-law, and
Okay.
I appreciate that. And if you have proof that they lied.
No, I'm not saying they did, I'm talking about process. I'm strictly talking about, Tom, you understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about process, that's all.
Well, I've been trying to get live streaming in this building for 3 years, and it does have very poor reception. And so, I mean, if these people wanna commit a crime to get on the school board, God bless them. But I'm not gonna keep someone off just because they, you know, are saying he went back twice, and they're making us check signatures, Gelada, I don't like that. Okay, people are, you know, they're not even teaching cursive writing anymore. They make us check signatures when they show a driver's license. I don't,
I get all of that, I just asked you about the process.
yeah, no, I hate the whole process, I'm there, I'm exercising my First Amendment rights.
So-
I think it's ridiculous that they
So
make
when
us
people
check.
call different folks in the community, and I'm one of those people, and say, well, this didn't happen, so, okay, go ahead, make sure you talk to those people, get affidavits, blah, blah, blah. Now you're saying that's not necessary.
Well, she gave us what I thought was a legitimate reason, and that is, she didn't have the money to hire a notary, so someone shouldn't be kept off the ballot because they don't have the money for a notary, number one. And number
That's
two,
an issue. Okay.
okay, and number two is, the reception in this room is not worth a damn.
Oh, we know that.
So I'm gonna keep someone off because the county can't afford to get us decent Wi-Fi service that we could do that. Or I gotta keep someone off because they don't have the funds.
I'm not saying you should keep them off or put them on, I asked you about the process here.
Well, I don't think we changed the process. I think she gave us a reason to make an exception to that process, that's
I
all.
think, I witnessed it, so, okay.
And would we say that it'd be preferable to bring an affidavit?
Yes.
And if there are extenuating circumstances where you could not bring an affidavit or it was cost prohibitive, then we entertain
Yeah.
sworn testimony
Sworn testimony of the circular,
of the circulator.
yeah. Because if we could get them on FaceTime here, we would.
Yeah.
And how do I,
Or if these people that were signing the petition were here in person to
yeah,
testify in front of us.
right. But some people have transportation problems. The one candidate's sister had a stroke, so I don't know what kind of shape she's in to travel.
Yeah, I think that what Gelada's asking for is that when people come up against
No, what I'm
this-
asking about is clarification on process.
Yeah.
On how you're gonna do this. I don't care if you approve or disapprove, that you be consistent in the process, is what I'm asking. Because this is, look, you had 9 people today.
Yeah.
No, 10, including the transfer in from Columbiana County.
Yeah, because if
So,
someone.
people need to
calls-
understand,
Yeah,
okay, if for example, I mean, Mr. Perry you know, ran around and spent money, you know, getting 12 people, 11 people. So if that, you're saying that if they're unable to afford it, then they're able to do something else, or someone will be able to call in, that's fine. I'm just asking for clarification on the process.
I think you clearly identified that we will certainly look at extenuating circumstances.
There you go, okay.
Okay, I don't think someone should be kept off the ballot
I don't either, but I
because they
think
don't
it
have
needs to be
money.
Clear, okay.
All right. All right, is there anything else?
Well, we need to make a motion on no.
I did make a motion. Didn't I make a motion?
They were second.
Oh, they were
We're
still,
looking.
they were still looking.
yeah, I mean, I found all mine except for Terry Hart.
Yeah, his name is wrote so crazy, you have to really look for it.
I found it, yeah, here it is.
I also have
And
one
then,
testify.
one more.
Well, he has more than enough, right?
With the affidavits, you have more than enough.
Right.
But would she like to testify?
Really, she was waiting for.
She's here.
She's. Come on, you've been so nice since you got here. We have to let you have the
I'm
floor.
glad you got passed through.
Well, now that you're here and you took part in the government process, I only think it fair to you that we hear from you. Because we're your government and you should be allowed to talk to your government. So why don't you stand up? And let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. This you do as you answer under the pangs of perjury, or do you swear to God?
That's very good.
Okay,
And what's your name?
Mercedes King.
all right. And what did you want to tell us about your affidavit or your signature?
My signature on his petition, he personally took my information, but I printed instead of writing.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Anyone have any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you for coming down and taking the time. All right, are we ready now? I need a second.
Who, you made the motion?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll second.
seconded by member Denise Bayer. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns besides what we've already done? Hearing none, would the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Barger,
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice.
Yes.
Attorney Robinson.
Yes.
Attorney Barrett.
Yes.
All right, Million Perry Pfeiffer is now on the ballot. Congratulations, Mary. Persistence pays off. Keep the grind up. All right, director's report.
We need the board to authorize the hire of necessary staff for the November 4th, 2025 general election.
Right, someone would have to, can we do those both in one motion, or do we have to do them separately?
I think separate, you need a separate motion on the two.
All right, will someone make a motion to authorize the director to hire the necessary staff to help for the November 4th, 2025 election?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Sandra Barger. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, would the director call the roll, please?
Attorney Beatrice.
Yes.
Attorney Robinson.
Yes.
Attorney Barrett.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, now, under item B, authorize the schedule of classes and instructions for the precinct election officials for the November 4th, 2025 general election. Is there such a motion?
And that should be in front of you, David.
In our packet, the end, very end. No, that's the minutes from prior. You just signed.
They weren't in order.
Here.
Oh, I got that.
This is in typical keeping with the rest of the years.
That is correct.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Has everyone had a chance to look at it, Denise? Have you? All right, there's a motion made by Sandra Barger. The chairman will second it. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, would the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Barger.
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice.
Yes.
Attorney Robinson.
Yes.
Attorney Barrett.
Yes.
Under unfinished business, I once again have not had any comments, inquiries, or anything from the county commissioners regarding our building. I want the public to know that we are completely out of compliance with infrastructure needs, physical infrastructure needs, for our Board of Election. We are in compliance with the cyber infrastructure, but we are out of compliance for the physical infrastructure. And still no word from the county commissioners, still no interfacing with our staff, still nothing. The law has set us up as an independent agency. They set us up as an independent agency for a reason. And the reason is they want us to act independently of politics, political considerations, and anything else. Our job is to protect the voters and to make sure everyone that has a right to vote votes, and the voting is safe and secure. I can no longer tell the public in Mahoning County that your voting machines and the other things are secure. And until the public or someone demands that they provide for us the necessary infrastructure so we can come into compliance, that would be nice. I've also found out that just because they say, here's your building, doesn't mean that we have to take the building. The building must comply with the directives by Frank LaRose. And we, at least I don't know if I'm speaking for the rest of my board members, are not gonna take a building that cannot comply with the directives from the Secretary of State. That's just my point on it. If anyone else would like to weigh in on that unfinished business.
I do have a question, Tom. Did we find out about Smith Township on their liquor option, whether they were gonna drop the Sunday or the weekly?
No, the prosecutor was pretty clear, you can't split an issue on the options.
Okay.
And in that meantime, we found out information that they did on purpose because the century requirement was less than, the number of centuries was less if you combine them than went single.
okay.
So their plan was to get fewer centuries, qualify for both issues, and then drop one to qualify for one.
Okay.
Right.
So they withdraw their petition or they're going forward?
They're going forward.
Okay. Anything else on unfinished business?
You have to set a board meeting for next week for bid ballot.
That would be under new business, right?
Oh, okay.
That's after the work.
I'm
Yeah.
getting loopy.
I know we have some new business. What's the new business we have, everyone?
I have one here. I spoke with Patrick Bundy. He's in the audience today. Last meeting, he filed in the primary for, correct me if I'm wrong, for city council in Struthers.
That's correct.
And then for August, he also filed for Struthers Board of Education. We denied that based on 35-13-052, where you can't run for two offices in the same election year. Patrick Bundy now wants to, he filed a declaration to be intended to be a write-in for that same office we disqualified him for.
Well, you can't do that either,
I
right?
can't do that, but I'll pass down the 35-13-052, it's sections A, sections 5. But I think Patrick wanted to say something to the board.
Yes.
Come on. You can sit down if you'd like that.
Well, I received a letter when I filed to run as on a school board.
No, it doesn't include.
I'm currently on the school board there. I am running for the fulfillment of the term I was appointed to several years ago. They told me that I had to run the next available election for that position. When I received your letter of denial, it said that my name could not be put on the ballot twice. My question now is, if I run as a write-in, my name will not be on the ballot, but one time.
You've got a point.
And
But after the denial of the petition, you can't run.
Oh, yeah, that's right. If we deny a petition, you can't run as a write-in,
And
right?
two bites at the apple, but I'm not an attorney, we have attorneys here. If you look at the law, write-in is specifically covered as you can't run for a declaration of candidacy or a write-in. And then that's section A of that, I don't know where it went, 35-13. And then you go down to then section 5 after that. So write-in, I believe, and again, I believe it's prohibited. Not that your name can't appear on the ballot twice, you can't run for two offices in the same county.
Well, I'm gonna say something to you very crazy.
Okay.
Okay? This is unconstitutional, but you can't hold, you would not be allowed to hold both offices.
Why is
Okay?
that?
Because you can't, that's against the law.
Well,
There's two separate entities.
Doesn't matter. You have a First Amendment right to run for anything you want as long as you're qualified. Whether or not you could be seated for that office is another question. I know that sounds crazy, I know that sounds disingenuous, and it sounds a little like gobbledygook, but that is what the Supreme Court of the United States has ruled. You have a First Amendment right, but you can't hold office. So, I mean, but it's clear here, unless you wanna, they haven't specifically ruled this one unconstitutional. But if you wanna take up that $300,000 legal fight, knock yourself out.
If I can add, there's an Attorney General opinion, we can hold both offices. So Patrick can be elected in November to city council, and then in January, there's an opening on the school board. They are compatible offices. You just can't run them in the same calendar year. If the terms are staggered, 2025, 2027, he could do that as compatible offices. It's just the calendar year under that statute is where he's getting caught up at.
Does it taste like a contract?
Now, in the past, I know in the past, it has been done. Even in our city, Mayor Hellman, I don't know if you remember Mayor Howdy Hellman, he was the mayor of our town, was also on the school board at the same time. So past practice, it has been done.
Did you copy the case law? Is that, is this section ever been mitigated? I wonder how many.
I sent it to you last meeting on this by email. You should still have it in the email.
But in this case, it might be instead of
Right now,
years,
we
like
have
you
to
said.
take a statute at face value,
Right, it could have changed.
unless a court determines it to be unconstitutional. In my personal opinion, this statute is unconstitutional, but I'm not allowed to say what my personal opinion is. I have to follow what the law is. And the law is, that that's the law in the books. I might not like it, but I have to follow it.
Okay, is there gonna be any problem if I'm reappointed by the board for the position?
No, 'cause that has happened already.
Yeah, I know it happened to me last time.
And then that's outside the scope of this board at that point. That's an
Yeah.
attorney general issue at that point. And we have the ruling that you can do that. I believe you dropped off to me as well.
Yeah, because several years ago, I was booted and then I got appointed to the board. But then the understanding at that time was the next election, I had to run for it to fulfill the last 2 years of this term. So that's what I was attempting to do. But in the meantime, also was gonna run for council and stuff.
We have to follow that statute. I don't like it, I think it's unconstitutional. Nothing I can do about it, I gotta follow it. That's all I can tell you. All right?
So if I hit the Powerball tonight, then I can go fight it, right?
Yep.
Or wait till they appoint you to the school board.
Yeah.
That's kind of a given, but I always kind of felt people should get a chance to vote for vote for their candidates, But the way the letter came from the last time, it said that I could not have my name on the ballot 2 times.
It even says writing in the statute.
It does say right in?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, anything else for new business?
Oh.
Excuse me, one more thing. Will you send me a letter stating the reasons why?
Correct.
Okay.
Danny and me will work on that tomorrow.
All right, anything else on the new business?
So first though, most importantly, is we need to set up a meeting so you guys can open ballot days. So next week, either the 8th, 9th, or 10th.
You'll work with Andy and work with Julie on that?
But we have to set it up today. Because then we have to let the.
You know what, it's the same amount as last year.
All right, what are we looking at?
8, 9, or 10.
You can do the 8th, they can do Tuesday morning, but after that,
I could do Tuesday morning.
Like next Tuesday, the ninth?
Tuesday the ninth, yeah, that's fine.
That's my wife's birthday, I'm not gonna wanna be around.
Oh. So what time do you guys want to do?
You know, that's the number,
Really, really
that's the
bad.
most popular birthday in the United States, September 9th.
Is it really?
How about that for?
January, everybody.
September 9th at 9 a.m.?
Yeah.
That's the meeting?
And Andy, would you make sure that?
That's the meeting, okay.
I know especially for the ballot.
All right, what else? Do we have anything else under new business?
We did secure $54,000 more from the Secretary of State's office for the special election. They only allotted us $274,000. As you recall, our expense report was going back and forth a few weeks ago. We were very detailed with it, and they do owe us $54,000 more.
So that's very good.
Yeah, that's really great news. We did get our new e-poll books. We will have to figure out, we were pretty excited, because the printer is attached, and we're gonna have to deliver them whole in their container. We didn't do that before, so we're gonna have to come up with a procedure for that, so we're gonna talk with the staff about that. We did have to scrap our website, and we have to start over with a new vendor. And I don't know if you guys remember that, I tried to tell you last time. So you will not have a new website for this election, and we have to get a new vendor, because that vendor,
What I'm most concerned about is historical data. Because I think people, the press, whomever, should be able to go to our website and get historical data about past races. I don't think we should make them laboriously go to the Secretary of State's office, find Mahoning County, and then we gotta get that done.
so we have a new vendor we're getting ready to meet with, who did Montgomery County. We've looked at many websites, and we actually worked with this vendor over a few months, because yes, David, it should be easier to access all the data, but it should also be more user-friendly in general, and it should be more palatable to the everyday user on the front-facing page. It's 15 years old or 12 years old, something like that. It needs done. Our current vendor only was willing to do the first page and not all those interior pages where you would go to get the data that you're talking about. Now, that being said, the PDFs and the data that you're looking for at election time and the things that people should be able to look for is there and will be there.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
On election night,
Of course.
will someone be able to go to our website and see real-time results?
Yes.
You're sure of that?
Yes, that's what they do, and they do that all night long. They're required to by the Secretary of State. So they do that.
Okay.
It's just not as user-friendly of where to find it. There was a PDF problem, if you remember, a couple elections ago, and that problem has been resolved with our current vendor.
All right.
So,
Anything else under new business? Well, no one has anything to say? Or is you gonna make the chairman say it?
I'm not gonna say you.
So, we're going to make sure that we have changed the order of how the payroll goes down to the auditor, right? That's gonna be done?
And I think it's already done.
I already changed it. Here's your current procedure and your new procedure. Everybody can take
Do
one.
we have to adopt this?
Not really. If you want to, you can.
Or if it's a procedure?
We have time to read it.
We should, there's also a countywide payroll training coming up in 2 weeks for every department for some of the same procedures.
Can we put this on our next meeting agenda then? What? Well,
Sure.
if we're adopting a new procedure, I think we have to adopt the
Okay, well, do you
procedure.
want all this data here so you have time to read it?
No, I just want what our new procedure is.
It's in there. It's the
That's
second page.
Yeah,
The current procedure is on the front, the second page is your new procedure, it's right there.
Or the one that says
Sure.
expected.
Yeah, we did already implement it, and Tom, you were gonna say?
I think we should also go through the training that's being provided for every department in a couple of
Absolutely.
weeks. And then if we need to readjust this based on what they're saying, we can readjust it.
okay.
When was executive time put into effect?
Executive time is at least 12 or 15 years, because it was in effect when I worked in my prior job, and we used it for many, many years. It's not new at all.
Okay, so this new training is just to get everybody on the same page as to how executive time is works?
They didn't specify in the email that we got today, and they just said that all county agents, all the county HR payroll clerks will be there. And so Tom and I will be attending that.
Then should Ann go also?
Well, if you see there, Andy was removed from payroll, and it was put in for Tom and I to do it.
That's not, because that's not my understanding is she's the actual one inputting it, so therefore,
I think what Melissa
there's
wants,
three.
that we're gonna take it over ourselves, so it's done by administrative, even though the county policy allows us to
Have a
appoint
designee.
a designee, but we're not sure, so we're just gonna do it ourselves.
okay.
Then will he, for the flex hours, will there be more uniform tracking for flex time? And I'm just curious, I'd like to see what other boards of,
Well, I would like to change our policy for flex time.
well, we
Because,
need to know what the flex time policy is.
We have it right here if you'd like to read what the county personnel policy is.
I don't wanna
and then
follow the
what-
county's personal
Right.
flex time, cause they're 8 to 3:30 or 8 to 4:30. We had three, not this summer, past summer, we had 3 summer elections, followed by a presidential election.
Mhm.
And then they want you to use your flex time within the same pay period. That's not happening at a board of elections. That's just not happening.
Yeah, that's what I was about
Yeah.
to say, was that I would like to look at other boards of elections that are of similar size to see how they handle their flex time.
Mhm.
Since we are not an 8:30, 8 to 4:30 entity, we're not dealing with union contracts, I mean, we're a unique type of entity, we shouldn't try to fit something in that wouldn't work for the employees.
And something to be certain to clarify also is staggered start versus flex versus comp, and make sure that we are all talking about the same subject. Because in the last few days, I've heard all those different subjects bandied about together, and we don't do comp time. There is some comp time on my schedule there that transferred over from JFS. It's like 5 hours and 60. It's been sitting there for 3 years, because we don't do that. We've never done that.
How was flex time handled in the past?
It's basically handwritten. Joyce used to keep a detailed notebook on hers and my time, and then it was marked off accordingly. The county doesn't have, on executive time, the ability to, the code for flex time.
There's no option
There's
for it.
no option for flex time.
Even in my prior role, we hand wrote it and then sent an email to the HR person to let them know when we worked additional. And then she put it in as comp. That was different because we don't do comp.
You don't get comp time.
Right. But that's why I'm saying, that's why it was sitting out there, because I had it from a prior.
Can we find out if they can do something with the computers?
That's one of the questions we have going down there, to see how other departments handle it. I know there's other departments that deal.
Well, what you're gonna hear from the other departments is, oh, they gotta take it within a month. That's not possible for us sometimes.
Which is absolutely true, which we talked about was a historical understanding that the Board of Elections could not take it in that timeframe.
The last time we adopted a policy at this board was 2001, it was under Mark Monroe, and it had to deal with the retirement of our director and deputy director at the time, who accumulated thousands of hours and were paid out on those thousands of hours, sick time, and that's the issue that they denied Joyce on here, that they wouldn't let her. So we adopted the policy in 2001 based on those circumstances that we've always followed since.
Until Joyce, and now we've changed it back
Tom,
somewhat.
what policy do you mean? You mean the understanding that we couldn't do our comp or our flex time?
In my opinion, we can adopt a policy that you have to use flex time within a year. I don't think that's unreasonable.
No, it's doable.
It's even 6 months. It's even, it's at
Okay.
30 days catches us because we have certification and we have audits.
Yeah, but
3 years of elections, 3 elections back to back was really
But what
challenging.
that doesn't take account for is, at any time, that state legislature will say, oh, you're having an election. Okay? That's why I'd like it to be a year, it gives us more flexibility. No one could have predicted we would have 3 elections last summer. No one could have predicted that.
Yeah.
And so,
I think historically it was by the next election. So if you earned it in May primary, you had to take it by the next November election.
Although a year
So you
is now.
couldn't then roll it into
The following
the
year.
following years. That's what got this board in trouble back in the 90s. It was on that, so it was, you have until May, till November to use that flex time. It became difficult the last couple of years because it was March, June, November, and then it was May,
June.
August, November.
June, yeah.
And so that kind of where we started rolling this in because there was no elections. But historically, it was election to election.
well, you guys are gonna go to that seminar and make suggestions. All right.
So you want a flex time policy written for you to review?
I
Is that
would.
what you?
Yeah, so we have it. All right, anything for the good of the order of public comments? Schedule a special meeting, we already done that, correct?
This is a new one. This is the regular meeting.
And now we need to schedule the regular, next meeting will be October the 7th, 2025 at 4 PM. in the boardroom of the Mahoney County Board of Elections Office, 345 Oakville Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio, 44502. And according to Sandy, who has now a PhD in Robert's Rules of Order, this meeting is now adjourned.